This is going to be a really fun and interesting episode because I'm going to introduce you to one of the best, if not the best, JavaScript libraries out there for animations called GSAP. Now, why would we use a library and not just add classes and stuff like that? Well, for once, GSAP has amazing browser support, so you can do any type of animation here because there's some quirks using different properties in when you want to animate different properties. They might behave differently depending which browser you are on. So GreenSock actually gives you a nice consistency across all of them. Now, another big thing is creating sequences and more complex animations. It's really easy to do it with GSAP. Anything that you can think of regarding SVG animations, it allows you to do scroll-based animations, so it's going to calculate the percentage of how much you scroll and animate the opacity based on that. Just tons and tons of features, amazing easing functionality. Just go and check out their website. I think you'll absolutely love it, and it's so easy to use as well that it's just worth it. So what we need to do is actually import it in our project. So the way we do that is just go over to Google and search up GSAP CDN. All right. And it's going to give you this link here in CDN.js. So click on that. And it's going to open up this page. And you can just go here and click on copy script tag. Once you copy it, you can head back over to the codes. Where's the codes? Here it is. Go over here and just right above our app.js, hit paste and save. Okay, now let me show you the simplicity of this library. Let's close everything up, open up our app.js, and let's get going. Okay, so let's say I want to animate, just as a small little example here, let's say I want to animate let's head back here to the cookie. I want to move this down and animate it down. How am I going to do that? Well, here we go. All you need to do, say GSAP. So GSAP like that, dot to. So I want to animate to a certain place. So this takes in two parameters. The first one is going to be the element that you want to animate. So make sure you add some quotation marks here. And I want to grab the title. So let's see how we name that. We named it, let's do the whole text. So dot text, and that's how you select it, comma. And now we're going to add some curly brackets. And in here, we define which property we want to animate. So let's say I want to move it down. So I'm going to select the Y. I'm going to add a colon. I'm going to say move it down by 20 pixels. Now let's do 50 pixels. And in here, I can also define a duration. So I'm going to say do it for 1 second. And that's it. I'm going to hit save. Let's head back, hit refresh, and take a look at that. It's animating downwards. And we can move it down a bit more. We can do 200, hit save. And look at that. Meow. Goes down. Now, one issue with this is that we're having is that we can still see it here. So what I want to do is actually hide all the content if it overflows. So I can head back here to style.css, go over to this cookie container and just add an overflow hidden. And that's it. Hit save. And there we go. Let's refresh. Boom. How easy is that? Now we can define multiple properties here if we want. Let's do 100. I can add another comma and just say opacity 0. And that's it. So look at that. We have a nice fade out. So it's very easy, very intuitive. We can also do a from to. So maybe I want it to go from 100, but make it back up to its original position. So I want it to end up here in this position, but I want it to start from down here. So super easy, GSAP dot from to like this. Make sure that's uppercase, otherwise it's not gonna work. So again, we'll just select the text, comma. The only difference is now we're gonna have two two curly brackets here. So it takes in three properties, this whole from to. So I can define the place. It should start from opacity 0, right? And it should get up to opacity 1. Like that. And now we define the duration here in the second curly bracket. So duration, 1 second, and hit save. And that's it. Easy as that. Hit refresh. Boom, we have a nice fade in. Now I can also add, I wanted to move from X, let's do Y, 100 to back to its original position. So to Y, 0. And there we go. Hit save. And now we should get this nice pop-up. Okay, maybe it's too much here. I'll do 20 and hit save. But you get the general idea. So that's it. That's the basics of GSAP. We're going to go more into creating complex animations in the next section. But again, super fun. It's hard to go back to adding classes or keyframes or any of that other crap. Okay. See you in the next episode. Let's get rid of this, and I want to introduce you to timelines. So we're going to actually build this whole thing out with timelines. So I'm going to go and just get rid of everything here and hit save. So what a timeline allows you to do is to chain together multiple GSAP from twos or twos. So I think the best way I can show you is to just write out the code, and it's going to all make sense. So I'm going to say const, we're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it TL for timeline. I'm going to do GSAP here dot timeline like this. So that's how we define it. And in here, we can define how all of our animations are going to behave. So how much are they going to last? So duration, we can also do delays here. We can also do easings and a bunch of other amazing stuff. So all you need to do here is create an object like that. So curly brackets, write defaults, colon, and then another curly bracket. I know it looks a bit ugly, but it is what it is. So here we can define a duration. I'm going to say 0.75 seconds. Okay, and that's it. So we have this timeline thing now. And what we can do is just say TL. So rather than doing GSAP from 2 or GSAP 2, we can do TL2. So TL2. So again, same thing. We can select whatever we want to select. In this case, the cookie container, like that. I'm going to add a comma to it. What I want to do is just scale it up. Now, what I want to do first is actually scale it down. So I'm going to do from 2. From 2. Okay, so I want it from a small scale, like 0, and scale it up to 1, and hit save. So let's take a look. Let's go over to the browser and hit refresh. Bam! There we go. So it goes from scale 0 to scale 1. That's wonderful. Okay, let's head back to VSCode. Okay, so here's the cool thing now. I can just do another TL from 2, can grab the cookie, comma, and what I want to do is let's just fade it in. Opacity, so from opacity 0 to opacity 1, and hit save. Let's go back. So now take a look. It chains them together. So timeline is going to run this animation, and once this one finishes, so again, both of them last for 0.75 seconds. Once this finishes, it starts running the next one. So it chains them together to create more complex animations. So it's really nice and really clean rather than having to delay everything one by one. So there we go. That's what we have. Now what I want to do with this cookie is actually slide it in from the left side. So what I can do is here, so we're doing opacity 0, but I also want to do from x minus 50 to x 0. All right, so move it a bit to the left and slide it in back to its original position. So refresh, bam. Perfect. So that's looking really good. What else I can do is just rotate it a bit. So it actually spins in. So what I want to do here is do rotation. And you have to add some not curly brackets, some quote marks here. And say, I'm going to do minus 45 degrees. And I want it to go to 0 degrees. So rotation, 0 degrees, like that, and hit save. Okay, cool. So let's hit refresh and see, bam, and it slides in just like that. How cool, how easy and intuitive is this? Hope you like it as much as I do, because I really do. Okay, so we have that. Now let's do another one here. TL from to. I'll just grab the text like that. I'll do x30 here and opacity 0. So this is, again, our initial position. And the second curly bracket is going to go to x0 and opacity 1. All right, so we're fading it in and we're moving it in from the right side to 0. So x30 is going to push it to the right and move it back to 0. So there we go. Cool. Now there's one thing I don't really like about this, is I actually want these two, so the text with the cookie, to come in at the same time. So how can we do that? Very easy. Go to the property, go to the animation that you want to sync up to the previous one. In this case, I want these two to play at the same time. And just right here after the curly brackets, so make sure you're in between the parenthesis and the curly bracket, add a comma and some quotation marks. And if you add this smaller than symbol, it's gonna basically sync up with the previous animation, and hit save. Let's see, look at that. How cool is that? Awesome. There we go. Now, another thing I wanna do is add a little easing to this and make it look a bit more interesting. So I can actually define an easing. You can go over, if you search up GSAP ease on Google, you can view this easing visualizer here and check out all the different ones that they have. I'm gonna go for the first one here. So you can click on that and then you can just copy paste this over from down here. So copy it, bring it here. So here where I have the duration defined, I can add a comma and paste this power 1 out. And that's just gonna add it to everything. So look at that, nice and smooth. How cool does that look? Now what I actually wanna do, let me see if I can just stretch this out a bit. I'm still unhappy about the way this text looks. Let me try 80 here. I'm so finicky about design stuff. I know I can be quite annoying. Let me make this smaller, this font size title. And maybe this text as well, a little bit smaller. See, I wasn't happy with 0.7. Hit save. There we go. And let's do 0.6 here as well on the button and hit save. Okay, there we go. Oh, I like that much more. And I guess I'll add a bit bigger border radius to the subtitle here. I'll just add a bit more padding. 0.7, hit save. Okay, I like the way that looks a bit more. There we go. So that's cool. So anyway, sorry about that. What I can also do, so now this power 1 applies to all of these individual elements. What I want to do is actually on the cookie container is to do like this little elastic, like boom boom effect. That doesn't explain it, me saying boom boom. But if we go here to the visualizer, we can go over to bounce and take a look. Boom, boom, not bounce, but elastic. So I want it to actually go overboard. So basically, as you can see, it goes over like that, which means that when we scale it up to 1, it's actually going to scale it a bit more than it's supposed to. And then it's going to return to scale 1 at the end. There we go. And now you can customize this a bit more down here. So if I change this to 2, that's going to add much more to the intensity. I'm going to keep it 1 here. And and run that. And then here, the second property, let's change it to 0. So if I do 1 here, that just makes it like barely even 1 bounce. So this makes it super elastic. 0.1, bam, 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 bam. That's super elastic. I'll do 0.4. All right, so 1 and 0.4. Just mess around, customize it. Again, with animations, there's no really right or wrong way of doing it. You just have to kind of mess around with it and see until it looks nice. So all I need to do is head over to that cookie container, and here in the second curly bracket, I can paste in the ease and hit save. And there it is. So bam. Now that's a bit fast in my opinion. So if I want to change the duration, I can just, again, you can just do everything in the second curly bracket. So even though we did the default of ease power 1 and the duration of 0.75, I can modify that on each individual element here. So we have scale, we change the easing, and now we can also change the duration here. So I'll just make this a little bit longer, like 1.5. I'll double this time and hit save. Let's see, refresh, boom. There we go, that looks pretty cool. Now what I want to do, this takes a bit more time to finish now, as you can see. So I feel like the text and cookie pop up quite slow, just because we have a large duration here. So what I can do is, again, add that comma and add the symbol. Now if I do that, so you make sure it's between the curly bracket and the parentheses. So comma, and just like that, hit save. Oh, sorry, not there. Let me get rid of that. I meant to do it down here. So comma, because we want this to start as soon as this goes on. Now, the problem with this is that it happens all at the same time, so you cannot really see them sliding in nicely. So what do we do now? What if I wanted to go halfway in? So halfway through this bounce, so when this animation is at 0.75, that's when I want to run this. Well, we can do that actually really easily. All we need to do is say the less than symbol, 50%. And that's it. So when this animation is halfway through the cookie container scaling up, start running all of these down here. So let's see now, refresh, and that's much smoother and nicer. Awesome, so there you go. And that's pretty much it for the cookie animation. I guess we'll add a little thing where you can click on it and it closes up. So let's just do that very quickly. It's gonna be quite easy. What we can do is just grab the button. We can do const button equal to document.query selector. We can just grab the button like that. And then we can do a button, add event listener. So when we click on this button, we're going to run a little function here. So what we're going to do here is just do a gsap.from2. And what I want to do is grab the cookie container like that. And I wanted to do, actually we can just do a 2 here. We don't need to define a from position. I wanted to fade out basically. So opacity 0 and Y 200. So move it down a little bit. If you add a positive value here, it's going to move down. If you add a minus here, it's going to go up. Okay. Let's add a little duration here. So let's say 0.75 just to keep everything consistent. And we're going to do that ease of power1.out again. And hit save. So let's see, refresh, lovely, click, and we have a nice fade out. So there we go. That's the cookie animation. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I made you like GSAP, and hope you see the power of the timeline now. All right, let's create more fun stuff. I'll see you in the next chapter.